Computer. So we'll welcome everyone to today's podcast. This is Productive Agent Podcast, powered by Aubrey Home Loans. I am your host, Rob Aubrey, and our guest today is Jen Mascaro. She's the owner broker of the Mascaro Group. And so, yeah, I had to make sure I said Mascaro, not mascara, right? Mascara is the eye stuff. So it's Jen Mascaro, a nice Italian girl and visited New York. We were talking about New York pizza prior in the green room prior to recording. So here we are. Welcome to the show, Miss Jen. Glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, good. So I always start off with, so how long have you been in real estate?
So I actually got my license in 1996 and I didn't love it. I was too young, didn't get it. Got my license again in 2006. So 2006 to current. So what is that? 17, 18 years somewhere in there.
17 years, 17 going on 18. Yeah.
So
yeah. And well, how long have you had your own brokerage?
Oh, it's been forever. I worked for Stonebrook back in the day, and then I left there and I went with a business partner for a little bit and then broke off from there. So I've probably been at my own brokerage, I bet you at least 10 years. It's been a while.
It's 10 years, yeah. Well, good for you. So do you have agents or are you just running a team? I mean, what are you doing?
So I have like 13 or 14 agents, and a lot of them aren't really, some produce, some don't, some produce. And then take their money and run and then come back and go, oh my gosh, Jen, I'm broke. And I go, okay, well, what were you doing 90 days ago? And well, I was on vacation. Well, that's why you're broke. So let's figure it out. So.
Yeah, I say that all the time. Things you do today has an impact 90 days from now, but just as equally, if not more important, things you don't do today have an impact 90 days from now, you know?
It's so true. Very true.
So, yeah. And so, and that's very common amongst the agent population. There's some that produce and some that dabble, So obviously you're based on your production. You don't have enough agents to not produce,
Mm-hmm.
So,
because I'm definitely a selling broker. So,
producing broker. Yeah. Yeah. They used to have the term competing broker. And I'm like, competing, that doesn't make sense anymore. Competing broker was a throwback from like the late 80s, early 90s when you had floor duty.
Yeah.
And so where all the sign calls and everything went to the broker's phone number, and then the broker, if they could cherry pick the leads. And so that's when you had a competing broker. Today, I'm like, if you're a producing broker, you're not really competing. You're just a producer,
Yeah, it's true. I think that there's a plethora of business out there, and it's are going to be different. I tell all my agents, you have a tribe, so it's what tribe. It's like you've got to figure it out, and the rest of it's just low hanging fruits. So.
Right. Yeah, that's like lead gen. I always say they all, what lead gen should I do? I'm like, well, they all work if you do.
Yeah.
Right.
It's so true. It really, if you're consistent and you do it right, you're going to be successful. I tell all of the agents that come to me, I'm like, hey, if you get in and you're working and you give it an honest 40 hours a week, then you will make $60,000 to $80,000 in your first year. But if you don't give it that time, you're not you'll never be successful.
Right. Yeah. And you mentioned the 40 hours. I say that too. Like, look, you get up at Monday morning from Monday morning at 8 a.m. till Friday evening at 5 p.m. You have one objective.
Mm-hmm.
And that's to go on a listing appointment. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's all you did for 40 hours, could you get one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. I tell people, I always ask this question. If you got face-to-face with 20 sellers a month, right, would your business improve?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. That's one for sale by owner door a day.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. And a really good way to handle that also is knocking for sell by owners. If they're like, I don't want you to list my house, I don't want this, I don't want that. It's like, how about I just throw a sign out in front of it and I screen your buyers before they come in your house, because you don't know if they're going to be
what
they're going to be, and getting your lender to make that sign or having a lender make the sign first. That lender, you can team up and you can just kill it on for sale by owners. But a for sale by owner doesn't want that phone call. They want face to face. And if you get up off your can and you go to the door, knock it and say, Me and my lender, I don't want to list your house. I want your buyers, and I want to screen your buyers. If you and your lender have that, all day long, you'll kill it.
Yep. Yeah, I haven't done that yet. I mean, I have that on my radar to have a for sale by owner campaign as a lender.
Yeah.
Because as a lender, I mean, then I get leads I can actually pass out to agents.
Yeah.
And I have somebody, all I have to do is pay for the signs and then signs and get the 800 number.
Yeah.
So, and then I can, I have leads. But anyway, so what do you, so where does, I mean, after 17, 18 years, usually it's past client database that most of your business comes from. But when you first started, how did you get started? What did you do in your 40 hours, quote unquote?
Oh my gosh, I did everything. I door knocked. I did fish bowls. Have you ever done fish bowls where you take
Fish
a
bowls?
fish bowl and you go to a mom and pop restaurant or the person who cuts your hair, and then you offer to buy a lunch for some people if they'll let you put the fish bowl there, and they
Oh,
drop their
right.
card.
So do a drawing, right?
Yep, you do a drawing and then you add them to your newsletter. So I've done fish bowls, I've done door knocking, cold calling, and I did not love cold calling. It was not my favorite, but
I actually love to cold calling.
because people, I don't know, I love to see them face to face. Like cold
Right.
calling, but I will tell you, I did this program through another big box brokerage back in the day, and they made me cold call in this program. It was a training program, and I'm like, this is so stupid. I
Right.
listed 56 homes in 8 weeks cold calling. And
Right.
it was, yeah, is that so nuts? Yeah,
Right.
56 homes. And so
56 listings in 8 weeks.
yeah, Lee Stern told me, she's like, I don't know what it is. You've got one of the best conversion ratios I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, 56 homes in 8 weeks.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always tell the story when I first started cold calling, it was 7-digit dialing. There
Mm-hmm.
were not dialers, so we had two phones on our desk. We had two headsets, one ear each, dial on the right hand on the second ring, start dialing on the left hand. Sometimes, it took a while to get used to how to do it. Sometimes you
Yeah.
hang up on both. Sometimes you're talking to two at one time. It's like,
That's so crazy. Remember the Kohl's directory?
oh
Like
yeah, I
going to
love,
the Kohl's directory and going, okay, I want to sell 5 houses on this street, and getting in the
right.
Kohl's directory, looking it up, and then going to door knock them and creating your little farming packets, like all
Right.
the things that old timers used to do.
And that stuff, that's what agents need right now. They just need to get back to the basics.
Yep, it's true. It's so true. And everyone thinks I guess I see all of these programs like you need to mass market, mass market, mass market. And mass marketing is great. It works for some people, it works for the hit it and quit it agent. But for me, I love relationship marketing and
Right.
being able to create those relationships because like I have one guy, his name's Mark. I've never sold a home for him. I've never helped him buy a home, but he's sent me probably 15 to 20 clients,
Right.
and so it's just relationships. Relationships are they're very important in this business.
Oh yeah. I mean, because people list with who they know, like, and trust,
Yeah.
you
Or
know?
who they can relate to. Like I had one person reach out to me off Facebook. They're like, we were watching and you love NASCAR, we love NASCAR, will you help us buy a house?
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. They want to associate, or they want to feel a connection.
Right. Yeah. They want to connect. I mean, and in this day and age, with the social media, I mean, I think the human interaction is really lacking.
It is.
I mean, I do a lot of Zoom appointments with my borrowers too, because it's the next best thing than
Yeah.
meeting face to face. It's just way more efficient
It's so
but
true.
you can see each other and talk, you know. So I like that. But if you're starting out though, I mean, until you have a database of people you have a relationship with, you
Mm-hmm.
have to do the fish bowls, the door knocking and everything. It's funny, I did a podcast Friday with Amy Jensen, and she said she started out just door knocking, and that's how she built her business.
I love that girl. She's a good girl. She's
She's a
really,
hustler.
she is. She's great. And yeah, she just gets in and gets it done. She's a good girl.
Oh yeah,
So,
she could be a bull in a china shop, but
yeah.
she's a great agent and very honorable. I mean, all that.
Yeah,
So
that's true. It's very true. So,
yeah,
yeah,
no, I've known her a lot. I've always liked her.
yep, she's awesome. I like her too.
Yeah. So um, so that's oh, trying to decline my call. No. So anyway, uh, so where were we? I'm like squirrel, the phone. I
I
was
know, no, you're
trying to hang
good.
up the phone, you know?
No, it's just lead generating and creating
Yeah,
business. And
right,
back in the day, I mean, you could reach out to your clients here and there and not really have any competition. But now with social media, it's put the
right,
pressure on. We're on the hot plate. So now it's like, okay, what does it take? And I've seen studies where it's like 52 times to reach out to a client to let them know that you're there. That
right,
has to be obnoxious for a client, I think. And so I invite my clients to events. So like on the 18th, we're going to do a Halloween event and I dress up like a fortune teller and I tell their kids fortunes. So I get this static ball and the little kids come up and
right,
have the parents write something bad, good, whatever they've done. And they'll come in and I'm like, oh, it says here, one little boy, I'm like, it says here that you've got a girlfriend. He's all, I've got 3. It was so cute, but the
right,
parents love it. And so just that connection, just really
right.
connecting with the families.
Yeah. My age now, the parents, their children are buying houses. So
Mhm.
it's like
And
they're not little
that's me
kids, you know?
too. Yeah. So, and I'm selling, like the dad will call me. So one of my good friends, Taylor, I sold him his house, sold his house, and then he's called and each one of his kids, hey, Madison's ready for a house,
Right,
Logan's ready for a house. So it's pretty awesome the relationships you create.
right. Oh yeah, I have some clients that I've had from cold calling days, you know, I have many of those. You know, I have
Yeah,
one family. I literally worked 3 generations and have done 13 transaction sides with the family,
that's
you know?
awesome. That's
Yeah.
so good.
So I was saying
Yeah.
that to an agent. He goes, "You know what that means?" I go, "Yeah, that means I'm a damn good agent." He goes, "No, it means you're getting old." So,
Oh, that it's so true though. We are getting old.
yeah,
It's crazy. I was talking to Gary Cannon the other day about because as a broker, you have to be able to reach out to other brokers to be able to
sure,
say, hey, I need help. What would you do in this situation, or what would you do in that
absolutely.
situation? And I reached out to him, and I'm like, oh, I don't want him to think I'm a bitch. And he's like, you are a bitch. Own it. It's a good thing.
Right,
Okay, Gary.
right.
It
Got
was
it.
so funny. He
Yeah,
makes me laugh, but just you have to
yeah. I
defend
love
your
Gary
rights,
too.
stand up for your clients, negotiate for your clients. It's
Right.
important. You want to feel like you're there, but a lot of agents get this thing where it's like that's how you prove your value, that's how you prove your worth, and that's not how it's done. And
Well,
so,
yeah. Not if you don't get the deal. I mean, I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
you represented your client so well that you failed to get the transaction done. So that means you failed at your number one job to get the transaction done. Whether
yeah,
it's selling their house. I mean, if you're listing their house, they hired you to sell it. End the story.
yeah,
You
it's
know, and
so true.
I had an agent one time. I was representing a buyer, and like he was so so just thick-headed. And I'm
Yeah,
like, I mean, I'm like, dude, we're trying to buy the house. You know,
yeah,
it's like we're
that's
trying. You
true.
won't let us buy it.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
is hard. It's rough. Like I just had one where the agent was so rude to me and she didn't answer the phone when I called her. And so then there are 2 other numbers on the MLS. So I called the next one, no answer. Next one, no answer. So then I text one of the numbers and she's like, what are you calling for? Text me back. And I'm like, oh, there's a house that's listed and going back and forth. And then she basically blew me off like she wasn't an agent. I'm like, oh my gosh, this agent has the wrong number. I better find her broker. Well, she was
right?
the broker. And then she wrote me a new one for messaging her on a different phone number other than the contact number it says to contact her at. I'm like, sorry, you
Then
said,
don't put it in the MLS.
yeah, exactly. It's like you told me, or you put all 3 numbers there. If I can't get a hold of the first number, I'm going to call the next number because my clients really want your house.
Right.
And so I don't know.
And she was the
Sometimes that
broker too,
power
is that what you said?
struggle, yeah. So
Yeah, that's
sometimes
always
that
the
power
worst.
struggle is awful. Yeah, it's tough, but we
Because
got the
I
deal
tell
done.
agents, you know, just CC the broker and group text and put the broker in the
Yep,
group text. So that way
yep.
all the communications, the broker knows what's going on.
Yep, it's so true, and you can get through to them. And there are a lot of great brokers out there that will step up and help the deal go through.
Right.
And there's so many great agents. Not to sound like there's bad agents out there. There are a
There's a
lot of
lot
great
of great
agents.
agents. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're lucky that we do have a lot of great agents that are out there, and I think that as great agents, we owe it to the rookies and the people coming up to set a precedence and be what we want them to be. Because if we're not, we're going to end up with
Right.
some crap agents in the end. And I don't know. We've worked really hard to build what we have. We don't want to throw it away. So
No. Yeah. Now I always say. the issue with the unprofessionalism and whatnot is due to the lack of pain to the real estate brokers. You see,
Mm-hmm.
the brokers usually, and that's the other agent's fault too, because the broker is usually not aware.
Yeah, it's true.
In other words, if you contact a broker, the broker will jump in, but they never knew it happened. So they're just,
Yeah,
la-di-da along in life.
it's true.
But, and but there's no pain. In other words, it has to. So, like, if you start group texting and CCing a broker, then it starts to become a little annoying to the broker. Not that you're annoying them; it's just that agent's not doing their job, and then, so then the broker's going to step in and say, "Hey, let's up our game here a little bit." But the other
Yeah.
side of it is too, the brokers, because the division has a thing they call it safe harbor. I don't know if you're familiar with that term.
Mm-mm.
So let's say one of your agents goes rogue and they go off the reservation, right? And the division calls you both in, right? Because they're calling the agent in, but you're the supervisor, so you get called in as well. And then they go, "What happened?" And they're asking you, "Well, what do you have in place?" And you're like, "Well, we have a policy that the agent signed. We have a weekly meeting or bi-weekly meeting or whatever, and we have emails and we have online trainings against all this." So then you're like, "Okay, you're on safe harbor. You've actively supervised your agent." And then they're saying, you're dismissed, Jen, but you agent, you sit your butt down. We're going to talk to you. So that's what they call safe harbor. So a broker usually can hide on safe harbor by just having weekly meetings that nobody shows up for and sending out a weekly email that nobody reads.
Yeah.
And so
No,
the broker, it's like, no, it needs to be a little more accountability at the broker level.
yeah, no, for sure. I agree with that. And my agents call me nonstop and they will attest to it. They're like,
Oh
they'll call
yeah.
me, thanks for helping me, thanks for helping me. But I don't know. I think that we have to actively be involved. And I always tell them, if you have a question, ask.
Right.
Don't just do it
Don't bury
because
it under the rug.
exactly. And it's turned out pretty well so far, knock on wood.
Right. Yeah, I've always said, you never seen when I had my brokerage, you never saw my agents on Facebook asking questions
Yeah, no, it's so
because
true.
they can get a hold of me.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the key. So do you have an office too, or do you work from home?
So I do. I have an office. I'm not in my office today. I'm at home today, but I have an office in South Jordan. And yeah, me and I have one part-time marketing assistant, and I just actually barely hired her. And then because my other marketing assistant went to an internship with Bucked Up, so she was awesome, and it's sad. But so she does that, and then I have a part-time marketing gal, and then I have a full-time transaction coordinator assistant helper,
Right.
and I still I still probably overtouch my files and over everything, but you have to.
Yeah, to some degree you do. I mean, you just need to be involved. Agents get stuck in this mindset that the clients only want to deal with me, and it's like, no, they want to deal with your level of service.
Yeah, it's true.
They don't
It,
care if somebody in your office, as long as it's getting done,
yeah,
because that's always the key is to find that person that will bring that same game,
yeah, it's true. I
because
think
we bring that level, we fix things, we'll get it done right now.
it's so true. I think that the one thing that I found with my clients at first, it was like, I don't want the nurse, I want the doctor type mentality. And then it was, well, Jen, as long as you're going to be involved in the deal. And so one thing that I found that really works if you have a team is you say, this is my showing assistant, but I'm going to go through and look at the houses you're going to see. I'm going to pick them. I'm going to help you out throughout the duration of it. And
Right.
it becomes to where it's not the pass off, because I've had so many agents that I've
Right.
handed off a referral and they're like, well, you just gave me to a different agent, so I just went with another agent, because if you can't be there, I'm just going to choose someone else. So
Right.
it's very touchy, and if you don't have that communication as the agent handing off to a team,
Right.
then it makes it crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's back to they just want your level of service.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, showing agent. I mean, if I had to do it all over again, I had 100 agents, and so I would just build. I would do what you have. Maybe have a few agents, but I would have a team with a showing it. A couple showing agents where I would
Yeah,
generate buyer leads. Obviously the listings would belong to me, but I would bring the buyer in. I'd sign the buyer agency, I'd get the loan approved, and then the showing agent would take them out, find them a house. I would write the contract, negotiate the deal, and then the showing agent's off showing another buyer, and I'd have
Yeah.
a TC taking care of everything. And you really have to set the expectations up when you meet with the buyer. Like I would just sit down with them and let them know, here's the way we're going to do it. Like you said, I'm involved. I'm going to help pick out houses. And then the other person's going to take you out and show. When you find a house you like, I'm going to negotiate an offer for you. And then my transaction specialist will help us walk through, but just know that I'm involved the whole every step of the way.
Yeah, it's true.
And they're okay with that. It's about expectations.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Oh, and you have everyone, if you don't have that conversation right up front where, hey,
Right.
how do you want to be communicated with? How do you
Right.
want to, all those different pieces, it can go to crap so fast. So it's just
Fast.
setting
Yep.
every single piece of it up. Like we even have a 4-page questionnaire. If my agents can't remember of, okay, what direction do you want your house to face? Does it have a fireplace? Does it need a fence? Like just every single question. Because I tell my agents too, don't just set them up on a hot sheet. Set yourself up on a hot sheet,
Right.
then come through them, and then send them. If not, you're going to be taking them out to see houses they don't want because they think that they might want it, and they get to it and it's like, nope, it doesn't have this or that. So set yourself up on a hot sheet, then forward them to the client once you've picked through them.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to take a little rabbit trail because you used the word hot sheet. Do you know where the word hot sheet came from?
Mm-mm.
So because a hot sheet is nothing more than a listing alert.
Yeah.
In the computer world, right? So many, many years ago, when we used the MLS book, so when you had a listing, so every board had their own MLS.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were a member of the Salt Lake board, and the board used to be on South Temple, and so you had to fill out a paper listing, with carbon copies, and then someone from the office every day would run the new listings down, and then when they were there, because the book came out every 2 weeks, but then the new listings in between the books, they would make photocopies on the copy machine, and the pages came off the copier hot. And so
Oh,
that's where they got the name Hot Sheet.
That's cool. I remember because when I very first got my license in 1996 or 97, I can't remember. I think it was 96, but I remember them bringing that book in and it had like the tear offs, and it was they bring that in, and then we had like the printer with the papers you tore off to print out, and then we didn't even. I want to say we had like word processors. We didn't even have it was so weird, like very like ancient dinosaur computers. It was crazy. And that 6-page rep C, and you're trying to write through it, and it's so
the 5 carbons. That's the old expression, press hard, 5th copy's yours.
It's like so true. It's so nuts.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Back then, I mean, when I started in 92, so this is my 31st year.
Oh, and that's awesome.
We, no fax machines. I mean, fax machines were just starting to come out, but they were so bad you couldn't read them. And then, of course, in 3 weeks it was faded out, and so nobody took them. So the top copy the lender wanted, because you had to turn the wet ink page into the lender, because that's all they were loaning money on. I had my first transaction was a floor call, and I was at a Century 21 office in Pompano Beach, Florida, and the guy, it was an estate. They had a listing in Pompano Beach in a condo, and there were 3 siblings that had to sign. None of them lived in Florida. No fax machines. We literally had to overnight this thing around the country to get, and you're praying to God. It took 2 weeks for it to come back. And you're praying to God nobody missed anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, why don't you guys just pick an executive or something, man? Kill me. So then the buyer came in, he was from New York, put it under contract, then left, and then so nobody's at closing.
Oh, wow, that's nuts.
I mean, that's just the way it was in a beachfront town.
Yeah, it brings back memories, that's for sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
My first transaction was a listing. I got a listing because it was referred from a guy that I'd met, and it was a kid that built his own spec house or built his own house. And I was working open house, and I got the buyer. So I got the buyer and the seller. Well, actually, no, I didn't end up getting the buyer. I got this. I had the listing, and the people bought it. They were doing an open house on their house, drove through, saw it, and they bought it. And it was up in
Right.
here. That was one of the first ones. $425,000 was the purchase price.
Ooh,
I wish it could have been
ooh.
that good, but that was one. So it was pretty awesome. So if
That was
people
big
say,
money back then.
yep, I know it was really good money. People say you don't sell houses at open houses. You do if you do them right. I
You
really believe
can,
that.
you can.
Yep.
Well, in this
Yep.
climate,
It's
you
hard
can if it's
to acquire buyers, but you can
right.
sell homes on open houses.
Actually, I teach to acquire sellers, and so like if you're going to do it, I'm like, let's do a dog and pony show, right?
Yeah.
Let's send out a postcard, like on Monday, so they get it Tuesday or Wednesday. Let's send have a run a Facebook ad, because like with nowadays you can get cold directory online, so you can actually you can go on there and pull the list of all the homes around the listing, right? And some of them have phone numbers and emails, right? And if you upload that list into Facebook, and that phone number or email is tied to a Facebook account, it puts them in what's called a custom audience. So then you can advertise that listing to the open house, to the neighbors around the listing.
Awesome.
So now they get a postcard, they get the CD ad a couple times on Facebook. You put out like 20 signs the day of. You door knock Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday morning, do the open house in the afternoon, so that if there's any other potential sellers in the neighborhood, you're the one they want.
Yep. It's so
And
true.
then
And
you get
offer
and
them
then you get
CMA.
buyers that come in.
Yep. Offer them a CMA, especially new agents. If you go in and say, hey, I'll do a market analysis. If you want to come over to my open house on Saturday, I'll have it ready for you. And now you've
Right.
got all the information on it. Now you send them quarterly emails about what's sold, what's
Right.
active, what's under contract. And it's crazy how you can generate business from
Yeah.
one house.
Yeah. What do you call it? Cloud CMA has that called Home Beat. So Cloud CMA, you can just you can just do it, add their address in, and it'll send them a report. But Home Beat is a system where you can log into the back end and add, and I think you can now upload your list. But if you add everybody to the list, right, and you can set it to go off weekly, monthly, quarterly, or annually. So you just set it off quarterly, and it sends them right from Cloud CMA. It gives them active, pending, and sold, and they can
That's
see
awesome.
and it's refreshed. I mean, if they actually click on the link 3 weeks later, it'll be a refreshed link.
That's awesome. That's really cool. I'm going to have
And
to
it's
check that out.
cheap.
It's called Home Beat.
Yeah, it's part of it's a premium part of Cloud CMA. I mean, and I know it's cheap. It's like I mean, literally like $10 a month or something. Like, it's really cheap,
Awesome.
and you just
That's
put
really
your
cool.
database in there.
That is so good. That's awesome.
Yeah, and
See,
so
I'm learning right now.
yeah. No, I took notes on yours. The fish bowls. I'm like, I'm going to do the fish bowls.
It's awesome because then in your newsletter you can put like, I love this restaurant. It's awesome. Create that business to business relationship
Right.
where you're like, hey, do you want to offer a special in my newsletter this week or this month? And
Right.
now they're going to refer you business because you're referring them business. That's what I love about Utah. I tell everyone, you give somebody a full plate of cookies in Utah, 9 out of 10 times you get your plate back. But what does your plate have?
Right.
Another more cookies. So it's
Yep.
like Utah's awesome for that. So it's just you create those good relationships and they're lifers. They really
Yeah,
are.
exactly. Yep. Yeah, I like so. And then back to the open house thing. I mean, if you do everything the way I just described it, you'll get traffic.
Yep, you
And
will.
and people are like, "Well, it's just neighbors." I'm like, Their neighbors are potential sellers, you dummy."
Or
They're
and
trying
those
to
neighbors, they do studies in some neighborhoods, 80% of the homes sell to a friend or a family member
right,
in that neighborhood.
right,
And so
exactly,
now they're not just neighbors because now you've triggered all of their
right,
friends and family if somebody is going to be wanting to buy that house. So I don't know, they want to live by grandma or mom. And
right,
we're seeing that a lot lately is where you have grandma's getting old or mom's getting old. So somebody's selling their house to move either in with them or close to them instead of
right.
putting them in
Or
some type
they're
of.
newly married. Usually, when they first get married, they're okay. They live away from home a little bit, but as soon as they have a baby, man, they're like, whoop, they're right back into their support
Babysitter.
network. Yeah.
Yep. So
Well,
true.
babysitter support network. Tomato,
Yep.
tomato, right?
My mom told me, she's like, I've already raised my kids. I'm not
Right.
going to babysit your kids. I'm not. So I'm like, okay. So I don't even, so it was just one of those things where
Yeah. There was
yeah.
a comedian one time. I think it was Paula Poundstone. She had this real dry humor. And it might not have been her, but she had this routine where she's like, "Yeah, I need to hurry up and have kids while my parents are still young enough to raise them." It's like, oh man, she was
Oh,
brutal.
that's so funny.
Yeah.
But it's, if people have that parent, seriously thank them every day, because having that support is huge. It
Oh
is really
yeah.
huge.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I heard a good one on Facebook door knocking, the neighbors, right? It goes like this, something like this, that says, look, so I'm selling the Joneses home around the corner, right? And
mhm.
what we've learned that if we have a lot of traffic in there, we can actually drive up the price because any serious buyers are going to see the interest and they're going to make a serious offer, maybe a bid a little bit higher than list price. So I'm asking you, as one of the neighbors that could be affected by the comparable sale price, that if you join me in this open house, you'll actually help your value of your home go up.
So that's pretty good. That's pretty
Isn't that
awesome.
pretty, isn't that pretty smart? I'm
Yeah,
like,
but here's the thing: you end up with that old guy who's like, "If the value of my home goes up, so do my
oh
taxes."
yeah,
Get
right.
over,
I know. Yeah,
you
that guy,
know.
right.
I know.
Yeah,
I've had that guy. I had one guy door knock, and he's like, he comes to the window, not the door, the window. He's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "My
right,
name's John. What's your name?" And I can't remember what his name was, Bill or something. I'm like, "Well, I just wanted to see if you want to sell your home." He's like, "No, because I'm going to die next week." I'm like, "Great. Do you have your kid's number?" And he
right,
starts laughing, and he comes downstairs, and he'll call me like
right.
every few months and just chit chat. But you just,
So,
you have to learn to
yeah.
roll with it.
Oh
You're
yeah,
going
you
to get
can't.
no so many times. People can
All
be
you got
like,
to
"No."
do is get past their first one, and you're in.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, and there was one guy who's like, "I'm not interested in selling my house." I'm like, "I don't want to sell your house. I want to know, do you have any neighbors that you hate? Because I'll go sell their house." And then they start laughing, and then
Right.
it creates friendship. So,
So Lee Stern, you mentioned Lee Stern. She told the story one time where she not. It was one of those houses where it had the front door, and then right on the carport it had another door on the side going in
mhm.
there. So she knocked on the door, and the guy was like really crabby. So she goes around and knocks on the carport door, and the guy opens the door. She's like, "Did you meet that old crabby guy that lives in the front?"
I can see her doing that. That's funny. That's so
Ah,
funny. That's awesome.
he laughed at, she built rapport with him. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where no means try harder in some instances.
Yeah,
'Cause you'll have people go, "Yeah, my neighbor, they need to sell their house. They need to sell their house,"
right.
but I've already got an agent. My brother's an agent. This or that. Like, and
Sure.
yeah, you just never know. And I always tell people, I'm like, "Well, do you want your brother to know about your finances?" "Well, yeah,
Right.
it's fine. I have more money than him, but he's going to want to borrow your money after." And
Right,
then they
right.
laugh and they're like, "Yeah,
Well,
good point."
yeah,
You
he's going to
know?
want to pay more commission.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
So
no, that's the truth.
it's so awesome. And the best part about it is you can do anything. Like, you can
Right,
do, I don't know. There's so many different facets of real estate. When people say I'm a real estate agent, there's so many pieces of real estate. It's
right.
awesome. It's, yeah, with commercial, with leasing, with,
Oh, yeah. And commercial is like, when you say you do commercial, I'm like, okay, you're going to have to narrow that down.
yeah,
Are we
it's,
talking industrial land, high rise buildings in downtown? I mean, 800 square foot office lease. I mean, what are we talking about here?
yeah, it's true. And I've done a lot of little baby commercials, but not,
Yeah. Well,
yeah, not a
they
lot
fall
of,
in our laps because new agents don't know what to do with them, and the commercial agents don't want to mess with them.
yep, it's
So
so
so they
true.
fall in the experienced residential laps.
Yep. I had one client who owned a coffee shop, and he's like, I've been trying to get this building for 3 years. If you can get it, I will. I'm a hunter. I'll admit it. So he's like, I
Right.
will pay all expenses paid, a bear hunt for you. Done. So actually, and was getting the money to do it too. So I got him to a lender, got it all situated, and then I got in and I got the lease for him on this coffee shop. He's like, "No, are you kidding me, Jen? How did you do that? I have hired 3 or 4 agents who could not even break down the door to that agent, and we got it done." So it was pretty
Right.
awesome.
And it's
Yeah.
really not that hard. You just have to be persistent.
Mhm. Yep, it's so true. It's
And
really, really true.
and most consumers, they have like maybe one good objection.
Yep.
And so if you can learn to let that objection just roll off your shoulders and come right back,
Hmm.
then you're ahead of 90% of the agents.
It's so true. It's really true. Just like, oh, I'm going to rent. Interest rates are so high, so you'd rather throw all of your money away, not just some of
Right.
it. Like, and people are like, what do you mean by that? And when you break it down for them and you show
Right.
them, like, I am throwing away all my money, and I could be,
Right.
actually paying something off. So it's just teaching people.
Yeah, I'm launching a direct mail marketing campaign apartment complex. The cost of waiting for rates to come down to buy a home.
Yeah,
So
that's
the
awesome. And it's true.
postcard will go out and it'll have a QR code, and then and a little rabbit trail. So I developed a system where I could send out 10,000 postcards, and every postcard has a unique QR code tied to a record in the database. So when they scan it, and then we can't tell from the QR code, but the QR code takes them to a unique link. But so let's say I have 10,000 records. All 10,000 records go to the same page, but it has a unique URL string at the end. So when they scan it, we can actually tell which address read our mail.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And so I'm
That is,
getting ready. So I'm partnering up with agents, and we're going to start doing apartment complexes. But that's the first campaign.
yeah, that's
Why
awesome.
waiting for rates to come down? Well, how much rate or whatever, will cost you money. And then it
You know,
takes them to a
another
landing
thing,
page, and then there's a video that explains why.
yeah, another thing that new agents could do too is offer to sponsor the apartments. Gosh, I got a fly that's making me crazy. Anyway, they can sponsor the apartment complex's party, like a summer party or whatever else,
Right,
and offer that apartment complex a gift in exchange for their leads, or being able to, not necessarily for them to send them leads, but to be able to communicate with that complex. And
right,
I've seen it happen before to where the apartment manager is like, absolutely, because then you are taking people to them that can't qualify quite yet, or vice versa. You know what I mean? It's just one of
right.
those back and forth feeding
So
it.
you're doing a party at the apartment complex, clubhouse
Yeah.
type thing, and all the residents of the complex come to the party.
Yep. You
So
sponsor, do raffles, giveaways. So they're writing their name, telephone number, email
but
address,
they
everything.
realize you're in real estate, though, right? You're
Yep.
trying to sell
You
these
know,
because
yep.
they know they're all going to move out at some point.
Yep, exactly. So you're reaching out to them, and you have like Ivory's apartment complexes and stuff. They like to hang on to their own,
Right,
but you have other small apartment complexes that they would love that if you'd sponsor
right,
a movie in their little complex or whatever it may be. And in exchange, you're able to create those relationships, but you're creating that relationship with that apartment manager also to bring people in if they're not quite ready for a house.
right.
So it's a pretty big win.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew an agent many years ago. It was a husband and wife team. They had a relationship with a real estate broker that actually owned several apartment complexes. And
That's awesome.
so the way they did it was they they literally paid the guy a referral fee. And so
That's
he
awesome.
gave them access to everybody.
That's so
He gave them the database. So, and then they offered like a deal like let's say it's $50 a month, right? That's $600. So like me as a lender, let's say you and I partnered on one of those, right? And you can say, look, if if you pay your rent on the 31st every month, you'll get
mhm.
$1,000 towards the purchase of your house. So the lender and the agent, $500 a piece at closing, and this guy's getting his rent on the 31st. He's happy as a clam, and then we're happy. We're picking up the leads.
Yep, it's so smart. That's really smart. And I've seen it too, where even as a property owner, because we make okay money, we make good money in real estate, we really do. But to actually make great money and to make a retirement for yourself, you need to
Well, you have to have passive income, yeah.
yeah, you need to own real estate. You can't just work it. You have to own
Right.
real estate to make money. You really do. Whether it's flips, which I hate them. I don't. I do them because I don't know. I've done them. It's not something that I love. It's hard in our job market right now to find people who show
Right.
up. Really tough.
Oh yeah.
But
The margins are thin, the labor pool doesn't show up, and
it's so true.
labor's more materials more expensive. It's yeah. Flipping right now is the wholesalers are the only ones making money. They're flipping them to guys that think they're going to make money.
And they're not touching them. It's true.
Right.
So flipping is tough, but it's there. I mean, land, that's another thing to really look at it. Back in the day, I would get online and I would look for any 5-acre parcel that was under $50,000. And if it had water near, power near, I would buy it.
Right.
And so it's turned out to be a pretty good deal. It's been awesome, but it's like I picked up some land that's very cost effective for very, very inexpensive, but it's something where you'll pay the property taxes. The reason why I picked 5 acres is because I could keep it in greenbelt by leasing it to somebody to run cattle on or whatever it may be. But there's just little things that we should all be thinking about to get things done. So
yeah, you have to have money, either passive income or business, because most agents, like me as a loan officer, I don't, I'm self-employed, I'm in business. It's like, well, so here's the litmus test. Do you own a business or do you own a job? Right.
Yeah.
And the test is, can you go away for 30 days and everything still runs without you? And if the answer is no, well, then you own a job, not a business.
Yep, it's true.
Which is not, it's not a bad thing. I just, it's just a clarity. You don't own a business.
Yeah. And it's really not a bad thing until you've been in the business forever. And then you're like, oh, I'm so tired. I just need a break. So yeah, it's one of those things. And I can honestly tell you, I'm not there yet. I wish I were, but I'm not there yet. So eventually.
Well, because you're still producing. Yeah. I mean, you have to set up a machine that generates traffic that other agents handle.
Yeah, it's so true. I know. Where's Josh Stern when you need him? I just need him in my office for a year and then make him make my machine. And then
he's on my target list to get him for what do you call it, for a podcast.
For a podcast. He's awesome. Yeah. I tell everyone, I'll call him. I'd be like, "How's my future ex-husband?" I tell Lee, I'm like, "How's my future ex-mother-in-law?" And we joke about it. Josh is amazing. He is a machine. He is awesome. Oh, yeah. He is trained. Like some of the best agents that are in our business right now were trained by Josh. And so that might be one of the next best things is to get some different people on his team that have learned his machine and he loves to share. That's the other cool thing about that kid is he's a guy.
He's not a kid anymore. Yeah.
No, he's not.
He's got to be pushing 50,
Yeah. But he plays like he's a kid, which is awesome.
Right.
But yeah, to see like the disciplines and everything that he does and how he trains them and just all the nuts and bolts of it. He's definitely trained up some great agents in his time.
Right.
For sure.
Yep. Yeah. Josh and I used to be office neighbors. Like his office was next door to mine, and we used to have, it was called the East Wing. There was this little wing that was it was across the hall from the main training center. So we're right there in the hallway by the back door. Cars are right there. It was a great little spot. And so it was in that wing. It was myself, Tamara Reaper, Josh Stern, Scott Peterson, Boyd Brown, and oh God, what was that other girl's name? I can see her face. Carolyn Knight. I mean, it was all producers. And in the middle were just all cubicles with assistants, And so, so we had that whole wing, So I'll back up. So before I went to Keller Williams, that was many, many years ago. Well, actually 2004, I remember it. So, but before that, I was at Realty Executives, and in my hallway at Realty Executives was myself, Boyd Brown, who owns 3 Keller Williams office, Brady Long, who built and founded Equity Real Estate. Yeah. You had George Morrison, who was, or George Morris, who owns the Century 20, the most productive Century 21 office in history, Brad Olson. So we were all agents together cold calling, and we were all like literally in the same little hallway. And so, I mean, if you just take Boyd, George, Brady, myself, I bet that's maybe 35% of the market.
Yep, that's awesome. I know. So in my office, when I started at Stonebrook, there was Troy Peterson.
Oh, yeah.
And Candace Evans. And they were benchmarks. And my broker was mean. He was really mean to me. He told me, he's like, you're wet behind the ears. You're so green. You'll be lucky if you do 1 deal a quarter, maybe 4 deals this year. And I looked at him. I said, you listen here, Bob. I am going to be your top producer. I will be your top producer in at least one of your categories every single quarter. It's like, oh, yeah, whatever. And you bet your ass. I looked at Troy's work and I looked at Candace's work and I'm like, okay, I've got to beat him. I've got to beat him. And seriously, every single quarter, I was one of his top producers in one, if not all of the categories, because I was going to be better than everyone. Troy Peterson went on my very first listing appointment with me. It was awesome. Clear up in like
Right.
salmon. So it was fun.
Yeah. So it sounds like Bob knew how to work you.
Yep, he did. He pushed my buttons, and
Right.
oh, it would make me so mad. And he loved guys and girls. It was okay. Like Troy would get an iPod for his like quarterly win, and I would get 2 car washes or something. It's like,
Right. You
what?
suck.
So I know he would just give me so much crap all the time, but he really was.
But that pushed you.
Oh,
Yeah.
it did. It pushed my buttons so bad because I'm like, I'm so much better than that. Why doesn't he give me
Right.
some credit? So yeah, but he did. Eventually, he gave me credit, so it
Right.
was good. So
That's
yeah,
funny though. Yeah. You got
yeah.
to know. I mean, it makes you wonder. I mean, was he smart or was he just a rude old guy?
I
So,
know it's so true. I think I surprised him because he told me I surprised him. He's like, you know what? You shocked the hell out of me. Well,
right. Well,
that's
then
what
he
I.
wasn't smart.
Yep. So yeah, I got into the business. I was counting change to get a gallon of milk. I'm like, no matter what, I am going
Right.
to do. No matter what, I'm going to make this happen. And you wake up every morning unemployed. That's what I tell everyone. If you wake up every morning with a mindset, I'm unemployed, I need to find a job today, and then
Right.
you go find yourself a buyer, find yourself a listing. But if
Yep.
you wake up with that mindset and you work, like you, it's amazing. This
Yep.
business is amazing. So
I love it. And lending's the same way. And we did the same thing with loan officers. They're like right now, it's interesting. I mean, I'm technically a newer loan officer, but I'm by no means new. 31 years. I've closed some deals with buyer sides. I know a little bit about loans, right? And so, but it's the guys like me that are coming in and grinding. We're doing good. And the people that have been in loans for a long time that got fat and happy and they haven't grinded in years. And so they're dying on the vine. And guys like me are coming in. I'm like, I'm just going to steal their agents. And then when the market turns back around, they're not going to know what to hit them.
yeah, no, it's so true. And there are a lot of things that, even from a lender's perspective, that you could do. And I've thought about getting my lending license, and then I think, no, I don't want that hat.
As a
But
broker, it doesn't make sense.
it doesn't. But
If you hired another broker to run your company, then it would make sense.
that's true. But it's tough. But with lenders, if they would get on and look at, Truly Title has this awesome program where you can get on and see how long a house has had the same mortgage, what mortgage program it is, just on and on and on. But if you get on that and look at it, you can start looking, going, oh my gosh, these guys have a lot of equity. They haven't refinanced since 1985. Their interest rate's still 14%. They probably have all this accrued debt because of our economy being so amazing right now.
Right.
And call them and get a refi, because you could refi them down to 7%, and you could pay off all of their debt, and all their bills together would be cheaper than what they're paying right now. Like, it is a
Believe it or
no-brainer.
not, refis are actually doing pretty well right now.
Are they? Yep, because they're.
Well,
I mean,
because nobody wants to touch that low rate mortgage. So,
mhm,
so they all got a HELOC. They all use
yep,
credit cards. The
that's
problem is HELOCs, as the Fed kept raising the rate. So that's not a direct purport or direct impact to the mortgage rate, but it is a direct impact to HELOCs and credit cards. So
yeah,
HELOCs are 10 and 11%, and credit cards are in the 20s. So
yeah.
we could actually save them several $100s a month. A lot of people, believe it or not.
It's so true. It really is. And there's a lot of a lot of credit unions that will do a second mortgage, like a 10-year second mortgage
Right.
behind that first, so they're not messing with it. And they broker. So with you, they would let you like broker to them and
Right.
pay referring broker fees and stuff.
Right.
So Hercules Credit Union is an awesome one for that.
Who is it? Hercules?
Hercules, yep. Brett
Yeah.
Blackburn is the president there, and he's amazing. So yeah, so he will do it. He'll do up to 90% and like a 10-year second. And
Right.
so you're saving your clients all day long by making that happen.
Right. Yeah. Because if they don't qualify for that, then you just refi the whole package.
Yep,
But if you can keep their first in place, you're doing them a favor. But they're
absolutely
not
you
doing
are.
themselves any favors. So, like I put on my website called "Does It Make Sense?" and it's basically "Does it make sense?" Because a lot of people don't want to sell. I mean, they want to move, but they don't want to. They don't want to go from a low rate mortgage to a high rate mortgage, double the price plus the double the mortgage amount. But when you actually add up, because all they do is look at their current mortgage and the new mortgage and go, the gap is too big. But I'm like, well, let's time out. Let's time out. Let's look at everything. Let's look at your HELOC, your 3 credit cards maxed out. Let's add all that debt up and see when you add it all up. And on my website, it has 3 calculators. One for equity, so they just put in the amount they owe, their estimated value to balance or balance on the payment, and it tells you their equity. The next one is they add in their mortgage, they put in the monthly payment or the balance, the monthly payment, the interest rate, their HELOC, the balance, the monthly payment, the interest rate, all the way down, all their debts, credit cards, cars, everything. And then they hit enter and it shows them their total monthly debt, their total monthly payment, and their blended rate average.
That's awesome.
And so most of them are like 6.5%. And they're like, you already have a high interest rate. You just don't know it.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true.
They're so blinded by that low rate mortgage that they're blinded by this 22% credit card debt that's choking them.
Yep. Well, and all of those workout loans are coming due now too. So there are a lot of people that don't realize that their workout loans coming due. So it's scary. It's scary for a lot of people.
Yeah, and now student loans they have to start paying as of Sunday. Yesterday, yeah.
Oh, I was so mad watching that. That's so frustrating. It's like, you know what? Why isn't each person, each state representative sitting down going, okay, here are the numbers for my state. This is what my state needs. This is what my state needs. This is what my state needs. And then actually making it happen instead of just this BS. Like, you just get over it. It's just way too crazy.
So you were under the impression that they actually cared about us. Oh my God, aren't you just so precious?
I know, isn't it so sad? I'm like, it needs to be revamped. It needs to be changed because if we really could sit down and say, okay, this is the money that we need, this is where we need to allocate it. And all of that money that we spent overseas, if we could get in and if we could have any control and vote on what money as a nation goes to other countries, what a beautiful place it would be, because I'm watching downtown Salt Lake become filled with poor transient people that some people may choose because they're like, oh, we've done studies, they want to live like that. Not everyone wants to.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, and so it's like, no, it's not that. And we have so much state land. If 2/3 of the state of Utah is owned by the federal government, why don't we have places where we can accommodate those people and help those people that are in that position? Why are we not taking some of our land back and actually accommodating these people with transitional housing? Like, it's just, I don't know. It really pisses me off.
There's so I say the same thing with like drug rehab. People that they put them in jail. I'm like, well, that's the worst place to put them is in prison. There's more drugs in there. It's easier to get. And so
it's true. I worked there for 5.5 years. So
yeah. So here's my version of, if somebody's on drugs and they get arrested, rather than throw them in jail, why not have a drug rehab system where the first 2 months they go there, I mean, the first thing is you got to dry them out. Yeah. That's like 3-4 weeks where they're just sick, and then the next 2 months, they're literally like in boot camp where they get up every day at a certain time. I mean, they got a formation. They have to eat breakfast at a certain time. They have to do calisthenics all day. They learn to march. I mean, they just learn to become a unit and literally spend 3 years. But after they do their boot camp, then start putting them into programs where they can learn trades and do assessment tests, put them in, a wood shopping class or program for 6 months, put them in an air conditioning camp for 6 months, give them, figure out what they want to do. And they need to get away from their current lifestyle for 3 to 4 years and a very healthy lifestyle. I mean, so you can work on their physical body by nutrition and exercise, work on their minds, have Tony Robbins would do, he would come in, he may not come in person, but he would certainly do video presentations where he would work on their minds, I mean, you could get so much help to help people like that. I mean, and then they'll come out, they'll be healthy, productive citizens. They'll have a trade, a skill, if they're intelligent, put them through like some kind of other, like a school that's, that's my version of it.
No, I agree. They put them in jail And then they let them sit there with no job history, no anything. They get out, they have no money.
Now they're
they
a criminal record.
Child support, criminal record. Now they can't even get a job. It's like, hey,
Right.
what are you doing? It's like, okay, put them through this program. And then after a year and you push them back into the workforce, if they complete that year, then the charge that's pending, gone. It's gone.
Right.
Like
Mine is my version is 3 or 4, at least 3 years. You gotta, because 1 year it's too easy to go back.
Yep, it's true. And even if we had state to state, like a reciprocating policy where people from here go to Idaho, Idaho comes here,
right,
get them out away from the people they know,
away from their old network.
Yep. So,
but if they get healthy for 3 or 4 years and they learn to meet all these other health, and they're hanging around with other healthy people for 3 or 4 years, then when they go back to their old network, they're like, I don't want that.
Yep, it's true. It's very true. And I have a lot of friends that have gone through, been in that place, and probably not lasted in that place for as long as some of the others, but they're successful business owners. Like I have one that owns a low voltage company and he's very successful. So there is hope. People are like, oh, once you're on meth, you can never recover. That's BS. I think
you can't recover in the same environment.
Yep. Like my addiction was Mountain Dew and donuts. Like
right.
I get enough. So everyone has an addiction. It just shows up differently.
Yeah. Well, we have addictive behavior styles, and it's like, and so, is, being addicted to work, is that a bad thing? Mm-hmm. Well, it's better than being addicted to drugs.
It's so true. But I mean, it could be, but you look at it, you have this, you're a workaholic and now your kids are suffering. So your kids are the ones who end up addicted to drugs. Right. So it's one of those things where, I mean, those work-life balance is huge. And that's one thing that I am trying to master. I still haven't mastered it, but it's tough.
It's a challenge. Tough. Well, especially in our line of work, because, if it's a buyer, there you go, nights and weekends, I mean, that's the way it goes.
I got home at 8:30 last night from showing houses. Like that's what we do. So no, it's
I mean, true. I did 2 presentations over the weekend with buyers,
Yeah.
I mean, at least I was able to do them on Zoom,
That's awesome. But we still, there was a gal who I worked with and she treated her calendar like a doctor, and they just blocked out. I'm sorry, I'm busy on this day. I'm busy on this day. And survived.
I think that flies on your camera.
Is it?
I think, I just saw like some kind of shadow.
He's the devil. He just keeps zooming. I mean, ass. But anyway.
Well, it's cold outside, so they're coming in.
Yep, it's awful. And I live on 2 acres, and I have chickens and rabbits.
Right.
And
so you got flies.
Yep. So, and the flies are so bad this year. The flies and the elm bugs. Did you get elm bugs too?
Oh, I live in the city. I live in Cottonwood Heights. I don't.
Oh, snob knock. Just kidding. I'm just joking.
I live in a condo.
Oh, that's awesome. But that fly just will not go away. But where were we at? You squirreled me out now.
Oh, squirrel.
I know. Well, thank you so much for taking the time with me. And
I know. An hour has already gone by.
It has. I know, that's crazy. That's nuts. So
I know.
Thanks for having me on your podcast.
Thanks for coming. It's always fun, and I say this, I try to say it to everyone, but when I developed this, because I took a course on how to do it, what software you had to get, and you had to draw an avatar and that kind of stuff. And so, so I had all that, and my original, obviously my intention is to get exposure with real estate agents, but also like training. I mean, that I've been training forever. And so, but my unrealized consequence or unrealized benefit, I think of it will, we get to hang out. I mean,
it's true.
I mean, when, we don't hang out enough, and so now every week and I go in spurts where I'll be doing like 9 podcasts in the next 3 weeks. And then I'll probably won't do some for a couple of weeks, So, but I get to hang around with people.
That's awesome.
So, and it's, we know it. And there's very few people that I've done podcasts that I didn't know before, and most people know me through Facebook, either my CE class at one time or another.
Yeah. The struggles of short sales, our short sell years, holy hell. Like,
right. They were brutal.
It's so bad because it was like, okay, here you go. Here's the mess. Fix it. We don't know how to fix it. You don't know how to fix it. So we're just throwing crap at walls, trying to make it all work. And there's some people who got really rich and made a lot of money on them. There's a lot of people like, I mean, I can't even tell you how many short sales I did, and I ended up taking a huge cut or giving money for cash for keys because the people had to move. Like I did a lot of deals, but it was a lot of work for not so much money. It
Right.
really was. So,
Yep. No, I agree. So,
yeah, but
well,
I
thanks for
don't know.
having us. Well, listen, Jen, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you and talk to you, how would somebody get a hold of you? I mean, obviously you're in the MLS.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on the MLS, or they could just email me at jenmascaro@gmail.com, a one N Jen. And then my cell phone number is 801-548-0331. And yeah, if there are any agents out there too that just need a help, need a little push, I'm
Yeah.
here. No charge. Like
Yeah,
that's
exactly. I
we're
mean,
here
that's
for.
how I roll. Just call me. I'd rather help you. I'd rather help you before you screwed up the deal than, so it's a
True.
lot less mess to clean up,
Yep. Or call me. I'll give you 6 ways to generate business. Like you
Right.
just like
There you
I'm
go.
happy to help people. So
Yeah, I think I'm going to do a top producer panel where I have maybe 4 or 5 different, producers that, are, 30 deals plus type people that just do a panel, and we'll just have people we'll kind of go through and introduce everybody and then take questions from the audience.
yeah, no, I think it'd be really good, like a little town hall, like we do for the Commercial Alliance Committee, and
Right,
just ask questions. And because there are a lot of developments that are going in right now, there's so many things that people need to be aware of, like opportunity zones
right,
and what developments are coming up, what's going on with North Temple, what's going on with our inland port. When I bring up inland port, people are like, what is that? Like, there's so
right,
many pieces, and agents really need to get into their city council, get in and like have those conversations, go to those meetings and see what's going on in their area.
right.
Because when you're in the know, it's awesome. And then the one last thing I have to say is do charity work. It sounds crazy, but
Yep.
charity work
No,
will pay off
I
like
agree.
all day long. If it's about the people and never about the paycheck, it will pay off all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Zig Ziglar says, just help people get what they want. You'll get what you want.
Yep, it's true. It's
Yep.
absolutely true. Hey Rob, thank
Well, that was
you.
great. Well, thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Again, our gracious guest, Jen Mascaro, and I'm your host of Productive Agent Podcast, Rob Aubrey. And Productive Agent Podcast is powered by Aubrey Home Loans. So if you ever have any questions, just reach out to me. I'd be glad to help you anyway. Even if I'm not involved in the transaction, more than happy to help. So just give me a call. Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks Rob. See you.